This is ICASTnews.com, live and direct from the United Nations headquarters in New York City. And this is Bubbling Under and Bubbling Over. Where do symbols come from? Where do symbols that reach across cultures, no matter what part of the world they're in, and speak directly to a human need, come from? In this case, it sounds like an old world triangulation of international order against a soundscape of perhaps the most popular resonant music of the second half of the 20th century. A Swedish artist, trained in Paris, enraged over violence inflicted in New York City against a British musician by an insane New Yorker, prompted Carl Friedrich Reuterswärd to create a piece of art that is in 30 cities throughout the world. Reuterswärd said after the assassination in 1980 of John Lennon, "I was filled with bitterness and anger and immediately began to create a symbol for John Lennon and everyone who's been a victim of such assassinations." What the artist did was he took the image of a Colt Magnum 357 revolver and knotted it. The knotted gun has become the symbol of the name of this sculpture, nonviolence. It stands now in front of the United Nations, a gift in 1988 of Luxembourg. Carl Friedrich Reuterswärd has died at 81 in his hometown in Stockholm, Sweden. He had met John Lennon, the Beatle, the peace activist, in 1969. When he heard that Mark David Chapman, an insane man, had assassinated John Lennon, one of the great Beatles, in 1980, he was inspired to make this sculpture. The original stood in Strawberry Fields, the place not far from the Dakota Building in New York City, where John lived with his wife, the artist Yoko Ono. John and Yoko used to stroll there. It's now a place with a memorial that says "Imagine," the name of John's famous song about imagining a world where there's peace instead of war. He put a knot in this gun, and now there are copies of this, copies all over the world. I came across this image of the remaining Beatle who's a peace activist, Ringo, with this colorful example of his art, a different form, not a bronze like in front of the UN, but Ringo giving you the peace sign. Two Beatles remain. Their music is everywhere. Carl Friedrich Reuterswärd had done many kinds of art, some abstract, some very whimsical, but this is what he's known for. Visitors at the UN see this as they walk in, stop and take selfies, and take pictures. It's an internationally recognized symbol of nonviolence. There are copies in Johannesburg and in Berlin and in China and even in Cannes, France. The one that stands in front of the UN prompted this comment by Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan, the General Secretary of the UN, said, "A powerful symbol that encapsulates in a few simple curves the greatest prayer of man, that which asks not for victory, but for peace." An eloquent statesman, an eloquent statement about an eloquent piece of art. Maybe one of the newest pieces of art at the UN, but one that speaks about that universal desire for peace. For ICASTnews.com, live and direct from United Nations headquarters in New York City, where we see, every day we come in here, the statue of the knotted gun called nonviolence. I'm Jonathan Sanders.